inside, the nerves, everything.
So, okay, welcome to our first Dharma class. So, it is really a cause for rejoicing because of the millions and billions of people that are in this world. Most people are indulging the five senses. They are running after good sound, good smell, good taste, good touch, many things. So they are basically wherever the nose takes them, they run there. Wherever the eyes take them, they run there. Wherever the ears take them, they run there. And then, basically the touch and then the taste especially, people who are obsessed with, uh, all different kinds of things, food, etc. And then also mind, past, future, like, dislike. So basically, we are always stressed and we don't really have time to come back to ourselves. So Dharma means actually the teachings that bring you back to your true self. So you have got thousands of teachings. So according to tradition, yeah. So we have 84,000 different teachings for the different aptitudes of all living beings. So no two people can learn Dharma in the same way. It's not possible to teach you in exactly the same way as I would, share with her or my sister. There has to be a difference, right? And then, but the difference, you must help me because you have to ask questions, then you get the teachings catered to your understanding and your level, right? Of appreciation of the teachings. So these teachings are very important, and because it has the power to cut through the ignorance, meaning that we actually have no idea our minds are going in this way, that way, and whatever that we do, we grasp at the five senses outside, is going to make us suffer. So when the Buddha got enlightened under the Bodhi tree, the tree of enlightenment we call it, in present day Bodh Gaya, in the state of Bihar in India, right? So that is one of the most holiest places for Buddhists in the world. And so what is the meaning of all this, So not many people have heard of the Buddha, not many people have heard of the Dharma, and if you have heard of the name of the Buddha, the Dharma, maybe you will not know what the Sangha is. So in Buddhism, we have the three jewels. We have the Buddha, who is the teacher, the Dharma, which is the teaching, and then the Sangha, which are the guides like me. So we are Sangha. So the ones that impart the teachings, and the teachings that are being shared with you today have come through an unbroken lineage from the time of the Buddha. So it's very precious. So it's actually an oral tradition. We have books, of course. We have AI. We have so many ways to get the knowledge. But until and unless you get the transmission from a teacher who has got the transmission from a previous teacher, then the authenticity of the teachings is not that great. So the emphasis is that once the teacher practices and then the teacher imparts the knowledge to the student, then it has great power. The power of truth, the power of experience, the power of deep understanding, wisdom, which are not present in me. But I do my best because those who have given me the teachings have that power. So even if I don't have it, so I I pass it to those who will have it in the future. So I do my best to practice. I don't have any great qualities. In fact, my qualities are probably non-existent. But still, when somebody requests for the teachings, it is very important to impart the teachings so that this understanding of the way out of uh, suffering it will never be lost. So please do not uh, like if I do not teach you well enough, it's not the fault of the great master. It's entirely my fault, and it's not the fault of the teaching. It's my understanding. So feel free to ask questions. So I'm just like I'm like a conduit, like some sort of like a channel to transmit it to you, right? So with this, I would like to, in traditional, Buddhist settings, we usually do chanting. So it's very important to stay with the tradition as best as we can, but then later on we can open up as the teachings progress. So if you're new to Buddhism, you've never heard, you've never come across, it doesn't matter. So all you need to do is just put your hands together and then think that you are going to listen to these teachings to gain some wisdom, some understanding about life, not only for yourself, but for all those who are related to you. And in the traditional way, we say we are taking these teachings for the benefit of all living beings. So we make our motivation so vast to reduce selfishness and to have a sense of responsibility towards others. So if we are sorted, if we are kind, if we are compassionate, and if we know how to live in accordance with the laws of the universe, then we will be a blessing for all who come in contact with us. And if we do not know how to live in the um, within the laws of the universe, then we will harm others. So it's just about understanding how to live within the laws of the universe, what the laws are. And therefore, we invoke all living beings and allow me to do the chanting. So, in traditional Buddhist settings, we take refuge in the teacher, the great teacher, the Buddha, take refuge in the Dharma, the teachings, and take refuge in the Sangha, the community of practitioners. But if you come from other spiritual traditions, you take refuge in your teachers. So basically, the Dharma is open to all. You don't have to be Buddhist in order to learn the teachings. And you never need to convert because there's no such thing as conversion in Buddhism. The only conversion that we speak of is from evil to good, from unkind to kind. Yeah, so that's the only transformation. We don't talk about conversion, we talk about transformation. And this transformation is open, is to all living beings, regardless of spiritual affiliations, religious labels. Sangye chwe dan so ki chok nam la jang chu bar du dang ni chap su chi da gi jin so gi pe su nam ki ro la pen chi sangye ro par sho Sangye chue dan so ki chok nam la jang chu bar du dag ni chap su chi da gi jin so gi pe su nam ki dro la pen chi sangye dro par sho Sangye chue da zo ki chok nam la jang chu bar du dang ni chap su chi da gi jin so gi pe su nam ki dro la pen chi Sangye Druparasho. Until the heart of enlightenment is reached, until my purified and perfect state, I and all my kind mother sentient beings, as vast as the skies, go for refuge to my teachers, the gurus, go for refuge to the historical Buddha, Shakyamuni, and all Buddhas, go for refuge to the Dharma, go for refuge to the Sangha, the community of practitioners. From the merit that we gain by practicing generosity, morality, patience, effort, meditation, and wisdom, may we become fully enlightened beings for the benefit of all living beings. Simchen tamche deva dan deve jodan tempar juruchi. Dunga dan dunga gi jodan dawar juruchi. Dunga me pe deva dampa dami dawar juruchi. Nirin chadan nidan dawe tanyom chen pola ne par juruchi. Simchen tamche deva dan deve jodan tempar juruchi. Dunga dan dunga gi jodan da war juruji. Dunga me pe deva dampa dame da war juruji. Nirin chadan nidan dawe tanyom chen pola. Ne par juruji simchen tamche deva dan. Deve jodan de par juruji. Dunga dan dunga gi jodan da war juruji. Dunga me pe deva dampa dami davar juruji. Nirin chadan nidan dawe tanyom chen pola. Ne par juruji. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and from creating those causes of suffering. May all beings never be separated from the bliss of the true nature of mind. May all beings be equanimous, free from the dualistic fixations of attachment and aversion. Simche namki sampada loye jeta jeta waje jung tumon te pa yi triki korlo koltu. So we request the enlightened ones to turn the wheel of the Dharma for the benefit of all sentient beings. So we have set the tone. So we are going to listen very intently, because these are like precious jewels which have the ability to transform the mind from darkness to light, bring you from ignorance to wisdom. And it's nothing to do with bringing you into Buddhism. There is no such thing as any ism. So this is very important, fundamental understanding. So today I'm going to talk to you about the very basic how Buddhism, so-called ism, started. But we have to start from the life of the founder, right? So I'm going to tell you about the life, and then after that I'm going to tell you about what he discovered in his spiritual journey. So it's very interesting, because then you can see why the teachings are so precious, right? And the teachings have the ability to transform a person from evil to good. Yeah, so there's no inherently evil person, and there's no, and all of us are inherently good. So because of that, the evil, the so-called evil, are just stains on our mind. So it's just like we use like soap to wash our bodies, and then the dirt comes out. In the same way, we use the Dharma to wash our minds, so that the stains of our defilements, which means our afflictive emotions, the anger, hatred, jealousy, anxieties, worries, etc., all this greed especially, all this disappear. And every living being has it, regardless of whether you are Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, Sikh, Hindu, whoever you are on planet Earth, whether you have a religion, you don't have religion, it's fine. The trees don't have any religion, and they are fine. They are perfectly in balance. Those who cling on to religious labels are the ones who are not balanced, because we are clinging. So you understand? So Dharma is not religion. Dharma is the law of the universe. And it is the trees who understand the laws of the universe, nature, better than anyone else, because they live in accordance with the law of the universe. And that's why they are in perfect harmony. They are not greedy. They don't get angry. You take their fruit, they don't slap you in the face. Right? Yeah? So they are fruiting for you. They don't say that I want to give fruit only to Moon, I don't want to give it to Nora. They didn't say that, I'm going to bloom the flower, it's only for me, it's not for you. And no tree blooms for itself. It's always a giver. So from here you understand that nature, the universe is a giver. And then we have to reflect. So that is how we practice according to the teachings of the Buddha. This is the Dharma. So the Dharma means understanding our place in the universe and understanding where we have gone off balance. And then the Dharma will bring us back to balance. So that we can live in harmony with everything in this world. Without fighting that your religion is better than mine. My religion is better than yours. Your God, my God, whose God, I don't know, oh my God. So it's just so many different things that is the conflict in this world is because people are not balanced. Yeah, so, and then the more we cling to this religion and this in-group, out-group, my group, your group, my community, your community, we are breaking the unity, we are creating chaos, imbalance in nature. And what is nature? You are nature. I am nature, you are nature. So we are nature, but we forget we are nature. So that's why the Buddha came to teach us that, to come back to understanding that we are nature. So we have forgotten. So at that time, during the time of the Buddha, uh, so I'm not going to refer to any religion or anything like that. It was just at that particular time, the practices in the name of religion were oppressive. There are some very good ones, like many people used to meditate and get very high attainments, like very deep concentration, and there are also many who actually basically divide and rule over people. So you had in India, 2,600 years ago, there were these the fourfold caste system. Do you know about
Yeah.
it? The fourfold
The
caste
royal
system.
and
It is the Brahmin, which is the priestly class, and then you have the Kshatriyas, which are the warrior class, the kings. You have the Vaishya, which are the merchants, the farmers, and you have got the Shudra, which are the lowest one, who actually do all the menial work. So it was
something like slave.
they're not exactly slaves. They're free, but they have to do the work according to their birth.
Oh,
So if you're born into a Shudra family, you have got to do only the work that is according to your caste, right? You are free. But of course, some people, I may not be free also. They are also slaves, but generally, slavery is not a prerequisite, for that. So that is the time where, only people who were born into Brahmin family could read Sanskrit texts. And all these texts, Sanskrit, and all, so you understand the Shastras, the Vedas, right? And then the Puranas, yeah, and then the Smritis, and all these things, you have to know Sanskrit. And then, the lower castes don't even get a chance to learn how to read and write, much less learn Sanskrit. So, and women also, the position of women 2,600 years ago was very low. So women were confined to the household. Women had to, listen to the uh, father when they are young, and then listen to their husbands when they are, they get a little bit older, and then after that they listen to their sons. So according to the code of Manu Smriti, we call it in Sanskrit. So Manu Smriti says that a woman from the womb to the tomb must always be uh, taken care of by male figures, men, right? So lest she causes mischief. So which means that she has to be controlled by men from the day she's born, in fact the days that she's conceived, until the day she dies, right? And in those days, even and women used to get an early death. When their husbands pass away, they used to be taken and thrown into the fire. And that practice was outlawed by the British. Uh, but in some places in India, in the 21st century, there are still sometimes, we hear of that. Even though the Indian constitution has disallowed it, but the practice of sati. And this is actually because fire is considered as very pure. So once you go back into the fire, it's like you're offering yourself to the fire. So it's that kind of psychology where women don't want to die. If their husbands are old and they are young, or even if they are old and the husbands are old, nobody wants to die, be burnt alive. Nobody wants. It's very painful death. But it was glorified as such that women who die with their husbands are chaste, and then women who do not die with their husbands, then later on they call them a lot of very derogatory names. So we call it misogynistic ideas. So misogynistic ideas means that women hating, means that they call women prostitutes, whore, many kinds of things. So it was very challenging to live in India at that time, where you don't get education, you're not allowed to go to school. Nobody becomes literate unless you are from the royal family or aristocrat. Then you get some education. But then again, you're confined to the household, and you've got to follow everything that the male figure tells you, right? So there's no freedom. So looking at all this, and then if you are an animal, born as an animal, so animals used to be sacrificed in in hundreds of thousands by kings. So it's like they call that yagya. Yagya are those very big uh, sacrificial ceremonies where they actually have a havan, which is like a fire, and then they chant, incantations, mantras, and all in order to uh, bring good luck to the kingdom and purify the bad luck. So then always there used to be animal sacrifice because nobody wants to sacrifice their life. So instead they sacrifice the animals and thousands. So the more you can sacrifice, the greater the efficacy of the prayers. So a lot of wrong views. So wrong views about the place of women, wrong views about animals, and wrong views about religion, and then the wrong views about the human being. So it's like at that particular time in India, human beings were not considered equal. Men and women not equal, and then the fourfold caste system not equal. So the inequalities were just so great that then there something had to be done. It was just too much, So, but the Buddha did not purposely set out to dissolve those inequalities. It came after his enlightenment. Whenever he used to go, he used to travel anywhere, he used to see these kinds of incidences. He used to teach people that all living beings, all human beings are equal. At that particular time, they used to say that Brahmins, like as if it's a different species. And we know from science today that all human beings are of only one species. Nobody is a Neanderthal, nobody is a hominid, everybody is a Homo sapiens sapien. Everybody, regardless of whether you're Chinese, Indian, Malay, European, African, anyone, yeah, Latin American, anyone, indigenous, yeah, aboriginal. So everybody has the same, is of the same species. And then the Buddha used the word Jati Maya Lingam, meaning that the when you are born, you are actually born into the human species, and that human species is just one species. It's not two or three or four or five. Men and women, one species. Brahmin, Kshatriya, one species. Brahmin, Shudra, one species. So everybody is of the same species. But this understanding, we know it now through science, and later on, of course, people learned it from the Buddha. But before that, there was this great oppression that they didn't treat human beings equally because they simply didn't think that that was another human being. It was of a different species. It's just like you see birds. Birds, you have different species within the every fauna. We have different species. Fish, we have different species. In fact, every class of animals we see, we have different species, right? But human beings, we are only one species, only one. So therefore, we are all equal. right? Regardless of the color of your eye, color of your hair, yeah, color of the skin, everybody is equal. So these are very important things I wanted to tell you about the social context where Buddhism arose. So now I bring you back to this story. Once upon a time, you you like fairy tales, right? When you were
Yeah.
young, everybody likes once upon a time, and then I mean, everybody lived happily ever after. So the
At the end,
beginning, at the end, it has to
happily
be
ever
generic,
after.
right? Yeah, happily ever after. So once upon a time, there was a king and queen in a kingdom today in present day Nepal, in the area called Kapilavastu. Right? It was a kingdom called Kapilavastu, and it's in northern part of India and southern part of Nepal. Right? And today that kingdom is actually divided into half is in India, half is in Nepal, and the Indian part is in Uttar Pradesh, in a district called Gorakhpur, so it's like Kapilavastu, near to Gorakhpur. So it's Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh means the northern state. So it's interesting that the kingdom where the Buddha was born is divided into two. But the actual location where the Buddha was born is now in present day Nepal. So it's in a place called Lumbini.
Lumbini.
Yes, yeah. So when the so this the king's name was Shuddhodana, and then the queen's name was Mahamaya, right? And they were childless. They did not have any children for many years, and of course, they didn't just want any child; they wanted a boy child. As you know, in Asian custom, especially Indian customs, until today, boys are considered more auspicious, more economically viable, uh, more everything. Yeah,
Same like the
yeah.
Chinese.
So it's actually and especially if you're a royal family, then of course you need to have a crown prince in the future, somebody an heir to the throne, where that person will become king. So you see, the idea of women becoming queens and running the kingdom was quite far fetched at that time, right? With all due respect to the late Queen Elizabeth II, yeah, and many other queens that we have had in the past also. Yeah. So, but we had many queens in India also. But that time it was mostly male dominated. So everybody wants a son. So they did lots of prayers, and then finally, you know, on one full moon night, uh, this Mahamaya, she dreamt of a white elephant circumambulating her 7 times, and then this white elephant in his in his trunk there was a garland of flowers, and then this white elephant circumambulated 7 times, and then entered into uh, Mahamaya's womb from the rib, the right rib, right, and then she woke up. She told the husband, the King Shuddhodana, I had this wonderful dream. She said, what can it be? So then King Shuddhodana called the royal astrologers, and then they said, oh wow, this is amazing sign of auspiciousness. That means you're going to get a son. There will be an heir to the throne. And then the whole kingdom started celebrating. 9 months later, uh, Mahamaya, the queen, requested her husband, King Shuddhodana, that she wanted to go back to her, uh, um, what is that, her parents' kingdom. The kingdom was just a neighboring kingdom. So from Kapilavastu, she wanted to go to the neighboring kingdom, if I'm not mistaken, Devdah or something like that. I can't remember the name of the kingdom. And she had to cross beautiful park, and the gardens are called Lumbini Gardens.
Lumbini.
Yeah, as per Indian custom, when women give birth, they usually go back to their maternal homes, right? And then their maternal home, they take care of them until the child, is and the mother are healthy. Then they go back, and then they have got some ceremonies, and then they go back to their the paternal home, right? Get what I mean? So then, before she could reach her kingdom, she started getting like what is that? This labor, the labor pain. Then after that, she asked her maids, please, can you make necessary arrangements? I think I'm going to give birth here. So they covered her, and then she was under a tree. What tree was it?
Body tree.
Not Bodhi tree. Is it a sal tree? Or I can't remember what tree it is.
It's a tree.
Yes. So if you look at depictions of the Buddha's birth, you will find Queen Mahamaya holding the branch of a tree, and then in standing position and giving birth to the child in standing position. Yeah, because the child just came out. So the child came out after 10 months, not 9 months, 10 months, right? And then when he came out, I don't know whether it's fact or fiction, because nothing 2,600 years ago is oral tradition. So it's very difficult, and it's not recorded. But this is oral stories. So oral stories say that when the boy was born, he took 7 steps, and then he said that I am supreme in this world. So if you look at this Vesak Day, there's a small little child,
Yes.
that boy, he said, I am supreme in this world, right? And this will be my last birth. Then after that, the maids washed the child, and then after that, news was sent to the father, and then the father came, and then they took. So she didn't need to go back to her parents' house anymore. So they went back to Kapilavastu. So the child was welcome. It was the most joyous occasion, and the child was so beautiful and extraordinary beautiful with extraordinary signs. We call in Indian tradition, we call it the 32 characteristics. And these 32 characteristics are only there for 2 kinds of people, and I'll tell you that later. So these 32 characteristics, when the child arrived in his hometown Kapilavastu, and so all the sages and the kings, astrologers, the Brahmins all came, and then to bless the boy, to see the boy, and then it's customary to ask for the child's future, and also the child will be named. So on the 5th day, the child received a name. So his name was called Siddhartha. Siddhartha means wish fulfilled. So that means the parents wish for a son for many years fulfilled. So he was called Siddhartha. And then the king asked, okay, what is my son's future destiny? Please tell. So then the Brahmins that were there, so they said, well, this child has got an amazing destiny. It's the most extraordinary child that we have never seen this kind of child before, which has 32 different characteristics, the bodily characteristics. So after looking at the hands, the palms, the feet, the eyes, the ears, everything, and then looking at the stars, the constellation, which time the child was born, etc. So the Brahmins came to the conclusion that this child has 2 destinies, either or. The first destiny is that the child may become a universal monarch. That means the king of the world.
Oh.
Right? So we call in Sanskrit, we call it Chakravarti Samrat. So the king of the world. And the second destiny is that you become the sage of the world, the savior of the world, a Buddha. Which means that you will renounce palace life, worldly life, wear the robes of a hermit like this, and then become a teacher, a religious teacher, a supreme religious, a spiritual teacher, a Dharma teacher, to enlighten the whole world. So when the father heard this, he said, I'm not going to let my son become a monk. So he will become a universal monarch, So because he was from the Shakya clan. Shakya clan is a warrior clan, So it's the Shakya kingdom. So they were so proud of all things Shakya. So the Buddha, that's why the Buddha is known as Shakya Muni, because his father is from the Shakya clan. So he's actually he will be the king of the Shakyas. The people are called Shakyas. So he said, no, my son, the Shakya, is never going to be a hermit here. So he will become a universal monarch. And then one hermit who is a dear teacher of the father heard that, there was a very special baby that was born. And in his meditation, he could visualize, he could see the baby. Then and even on the day that the child was born, there was an earthquake. And he was shaken in his meditation hut. in a cave somewhere high up in the mountains, in the Himalayan mountains. He came, and Himalayan mountains is quite far away from Lumbini, but he traveled, and when he came, he asked to see the baby. And then when he saw the baby, he examined this way, that way, this way, that way. And then the baby, and then when he was about to see the baby planted the feet on the matted locks of this sage. And this sage was called Ashita. So in Sanskrit, we call it Ashit Muni. In English, we call it Sage Ashita. So Sage Ashita, when the child put the 2 feet, so the Sage Ashita had to, pay respect to the child. Which, because the child turned around, so is the child feet touched the matted locks, means that the child is greater than that sage also, and that sage was considered a very great being. And this child put the feet on top of the sage's head, means that the child is even a greater being. And that forced the sage to pay respect to this newborn child. So then the sage looked at every single, the nails, the fingers, every single characteristic of the baby, the face, and then also he also knew how to calculate the constellation, etc., and everything. And from his meditative practice and his superior wisdom, he told the king. The king asked, "What do you think? Is my son going to be a universal monarch?" Then Sage Ashita laughed and smiled and said, "No, he will become a Buddha." The king said, "What?" He said, "He's going to become a Buddha." So the king was very angry. He said, "Out." Go out. So he was like, he said, no, it's like, because in Indian tradition, if somebody says something, especially a great being says something, it's like it's destiny, it comes true, it's like inauspicious. So according to the king, the sage Ashita has said something so inauspicious that he didn't like it, so he said, "Out you go." So basically, when you come to bless the baby, you will tell, even if you don't want to tell the truth, you will say, "Oh, he'll become a universal monarch." But Sage Ashita said, "No, I will tell the truth, and this boy is going to become a Buddha." And the father couldn't take it. So then after that, when the father was rude to the sage said, "You can do whatever you want in your power, this child will become a Buddha." Then he scolded the sage, and the father said, "I am going to make sure that this boy becomes a universal monarch." So they were challenging each other. The sage said, "No, no way." So then the sage left. But before leaving, the sage cried. He cried so much, and then people asked, "No, why are you crying?" He said that, "I'm already very old. When this child becomes a Buddha, I will be dead by then. I will never be able to hear his teachings, and I'll never be able to come out from ignorance." So it means that at that time there was so much of ignorance, so nobody knew the way out of what we call this cyclic existence. Is called samsara. So samsara, it was a term that was already there in ancient Indian times. Sangsara. So in Malay language we call it sangsara. Sangsara. That means it's misery. So the samsara is cyclic existence. Samsara, not the perfume samsara. So we have samsara perfume and many other things samsara, right? And we have the nirvana band and all. So the opposite of samsara is nirvana, right? So samsara is the condition that we are in. So which means that we are born and reborn, reincarnated, reborn, rebirth, not reincarnation, rebirth, yeah? So we born, we die, then we reborn again, and then constantly being reborn, and then to suffer birth, old age, sickness, and death. That is the characteristic of samsara. And Sage Asita said that, this child will bring people out of samsara. So samsara is not something that you need to be stuck in. You can come out of it. It's a delusion. So once you wake up from the sleep of ignorance, you can come out from that delusion. And Sage Asita said, "I don't know how to come out from, but this child will enlighten the world. He will give the key to unlocking samsara and coming out of death, birth, old age, sickness, and death, to the state of deathlessness." So he cried and he said, "Blessed is this child, and blessed are those who will be able to receive teachings in the future, like you." Right? So then the king started his project. So he said that this child will never see old age, sickness, and death. So all the palace people who are old, he threw them out of the palace. So the people in the palace were always young cooks, young maids, young ministers. Everybody is more or less young or middle aged, not old and decrepit. So old and decrepit people were all sent to a new. So the king created a new town, and that new town, so old people were taken away from their houses and chucked into the new town. Sick people also were taken away from their houses and chucked into the new town. So the new town was a dumping ground for people who are old, sickly, and about to die. Everybody goes to the new town. So we call it Naya Nagar, new town in Hindi. So it was, people started cursing. They said that the arrival of this boy was supposed to be auspicious. It turned out to be so inauspicious. So people were cursing the royal family and all. Then people's curses also, and they said that this boy, we pray that he will become a Buddha because of the amount of injustice that was meted out to us, just because you want to shield this boy from the reality of the world. How are you going to shield this boy from from old age, sickness, and death? So it was a fake, fake universe. So this child Siddhartha grew up in a fake world. So he had 4 palaces, summer, one for every season: winter, spring, autumn, summer and autumn. And then in all those 4 palaces, also you'll never find anybody old, sick, and you'll never find any death. So but let me rewind a little bit. So the child's mother passed away on the 7th day of the child's birth. So Mahamaya died, right? And then he was taken care of by his aunt, Mahaprajapati Gautami. So he became, his aunt is also the stepmom, because the aunt is also married to the father. The father had many wives. So his mother's own sister, who happens to be his father's wife, so he was brought up by Mahaprajapati Gautami, who later became the first Buddhist nun in the world.
Oh.
Yes, Mahaprajapati Gautami. So I owe my lineage of a nun to her. If she didn't ask the Buddha today, there will be no females monastics.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's why her name itself is so auspicious, and be full of gratitude for Mahaprajapati Gautami. She not only took care of Siddhartha and gave him all the good values, and she, as a stepmothers may not usually be very kind because they have their own children also. But she gave more importance to her stepson Siddhartha than her own son Nanda. Right?
Ananda.
Not Ananda, Nanda.
Oh, Nanda.
Nanda. Right. So then, many years. So the Siddhartha had a cousin brother, older cousin brother called Devadatta. Devdatta was constantly jealous of him, and he tried to sabotage him many times, and even tried to kill him later in life also. So he was also a prince. But when Siddhartha came, his importance fell because he was the only child in the palace, the only prince. And when Siddhartha came many years later, so the king showered more affection on his own son rather than his nephew. And then there's a lot of negativities in the palace and all, and constant rivalry, competition. And at the age of 16, Siddhartha was married to Yashodhara, the princess from a neighboring kingdom. 16. So in ancient Indian tradition, we have all this competition. The princess will be invited to the kingdom where the princess will choose her suitor. So he went, and then he was adept in archery, horse riding, sword fighting. So everything a prince, you want from a prince, and also super handsome, super intelligent. So he learned all the knowledge that was to be learned at that time. So Sanskrit, Vedas, everything he learned. So he had the teachings from the Brahmins, and then he had the training from the Kshatriyas, the warrior aspect. So he was very well versed in the languages of the time. So it's like he had mastered everything, and he mastered it fairly quickly because he had superior intellect, because he was a Buddha to be, right? So and then when he was young also, there were many instances where his specialty, his amazing intellect and amazing wisdom manifested in many ways. As a child, he was always a contemplative. He liked to sit down in meditation under the rose apple tree. One fine day, when he was sitting down in meditation under the rose apple tree, his mates noticed that the shadow of the tree remained the same, even though the entire day had passed. So the shadow will change, isn't it? Sometimes it will be on the left, sometimes it will be in the center, sometimes it will be on the right, but this one it remain over the child. So that shows the child's spiritual attainments. And then also when he was a child, he contemplated that he saw that there was this he could already see death in animals. So he could see that there was this frog that was actually taken away by a bird, an eagle, and then so it's like he could see the cycle of life, this food chain, and that itself already started to disturb his mind. But he was too small, so he didn't bother. And then there was one incident where his supreme loving kindness and compassion manifested even at a very small age. One fine day, his cousin Devadatta and he were playing. They were playmates, yeah. And then Devadatta, he shot a swan in the air, and the swan fell down. And Siddhartha was very upset. He said, "Why? The swan is flying in the air. Why do you need to harm living beings?" So the child cried, and then the child hugged the swan. The child took care of the swan, and kept the swan in his chamber. And every day he put medicine on the swan's wings, and then until the swan became better. And then the swan was he was about to release the swan when Devadatta came and complained. He said that, "Give the bird to me." He said, "No, I won't." He said, "Give it to me." He said, "I'm not going to give it to you." He said, "Okay, fine. I'm going to go to the king and I'm going to complain that you took my swan. Because I shot it down, it belongs to me." So Devadatta and Siddhartha both went in front of the entire, all the ministers and the king. And the swan also they brought. And then the king asked, "What is the problem?" Then Devadatta said, "I shot the bird, so the bird should be mine." And then Siddhartha said, "I saved the bird, so the bird should be mine." So then later on, the ministers all agreed that the one who saves has right over the bird. So which means that the one who takes life doesn't have right over anyone, but the one who saves lives has a higher and a greater right to the bird. So the bird was given to Siddhartha. So that's how Siddhartha saved the bird. So at a young age, he was extremely compassionate and very smart, very intelligent. So he could, so many decisions he used to make as a child. But I'm going to fast forward this. But they were very wise decisions. And after his marriage, he lived as a normal prince, So he enjoyed his marriage for 13 years. And he was, according to the text, he was a very good and responsible and caring husband. And he and Yashodhara, they were soulmates, like from the past. So they had actually taken vows that they'll be reborn every lifetime together until enlightenment. So therefore, she came back into his life, and Devadatta also wanted to Yashodhara. So he was always looking at his sister-in-law. And so it's like it's just this horrible mess. So you could see all this drama going on in the in the palace. So despite marital bliss, Siddhartha felt trapped in the palace. And at this time, he was already about almost 29 years old. And then he said, "My whole life I've been in the palace. My father doesn't let me go out. Each time I go anywhere to any of the 4 palaces, I will always be heavily escorted by the charioteers and soldiers. I don't get to meet the people. How am I going?" And I'm a crown prince. "When I become king, I will not have any understanding of my kingdom." So he asked permission from his father. "May I go out and see my subjects?" His father said no many times. Then he said, "If I don't see my subjects, how am I going to understand their problems and become a good king?" Then the father thought for a while. That's true. Yeah. Okay. Wait. Give me a couple of days, then you can go out. So everything was made. So the king sent his soldiers to make sure that there are no old people, sick people, dead people, right? So everything is nice, and then it was all spruced up, so no dirt, everything, and then they hung buntings and flags and all, So it's like like a fanfare. So when Siddhartha came out from the palace, he saw another grand palace in the form of a village. It's just an extension of his luxury. So he did not see the actual village, actual suffering of the people. He was very upset.
Mm.
So he came back. So then after that, one fine day, he told Channa, he said, I want to see the people. Can you bring me? So then after that, Channa said, Channa was his charioteer, and Channa was the same age as him. So they were born in the same year, and they grew up together, and Channa was of a low birth, meaning the Shudra boy. And his job was he was a charioteer to ride the horse and bring Siddhartha here, Siddhartha there. So he said, Channa, come, let's go and see. So somehow or other, when he went out, when there was on a normal day, without all the soldiers and everything, so he saw the sight of an old man. Then when he saw, hang on, he said, stop. So the charioteer asked, Channa asked, why? What is it? Why do you ask me to stop? Then he said, what's that? Who's that? Then Channa said, it's an old man. An old man? What is an old man? Then he said, the old man is a person who has lived for so long, and then, then he will become like that. So you are youthful, I am youthful, and then, when we become old, we'll become like that. Will I become old too? He said, yes. Channa said, will my parents become old? He said, yes. Will my wife become old? He said, yes. Oh no. Then he couldn't take it anymore. Something happened. Something really like hit him so hard, and he lost all joy in luxury palace life. And he went back to the palace, very, very depressed. Then he said, Channa, I must go out and see my kingdom again. I haven't seen, I've only seen this much, so I want to go out. So he went out again. And then the next time he saw uh, a leper, somebody who's like really, really sick and very bad condition, the body. Then he said, what's that? He said, it's a sick man. What is a sick man? What is sickness? He said, you don't know what is sickness? Channa asked. He said, no, what is sickness? Everybody is healthy. I'm healthy. So what is the meaning of sickness? He said, the human body is prone to sickness. It's natural for somebody to become old and sick. Will I become sick too? Channa said, yes. Will my parents become sick? Channa said, yes. Will my wife become sick? Channa said, yes. Then after that, another blow. Went back to the palace again. So the third time he came out of the palace, and this time he saw a corpse. Somebody, lying on a stretcher in India. So it's like no coffins, it's like a stretcher lying on the floor with white cloth and flowers, and the family was ready to carry the stretcher with a pot in their hand, and in the pot you have got like a fire, some sort like a kemenyan you burn, so you're going to carry the corpse from the house to the cremation ground, and then you will chant Ram Nam Satya Hai, like that kind of thing. So so he said, oh, what's that? Is that a person? He said, yes. Why is the person not moving? And what is happening? Where are they taking this person to? They're taking it to the cremation ground. What is a cremation ground? And then because this person is a dead person. What is a dead person? The person who has left this body, and he no longer can talk, he no longer can speak, he's no longer here, he's gone. Then this was too much for Siddhartha to take. He said, will I die? Channa said, yes. Will my parents die? Yes. Will my wife die? He said, yes. After death, what happens? He said, I don't know. Then after that, by this time, it was just too much for him to take. Then he was so depressed for a few weeks. And then he said, Channa, please take me out again. So he went out. Then when he went out, he finally saw something that can make him happy. He saw a hermit. He saw a sage under the tree, dressed in saffron robes, like, saffron robes, right? The Indian sages, monk, he saw. Then he said, I want to be like him. Then he said, what do you mean? Channa said. He said that he looks so peaceful. He said that I've lost all my peace, and I've been having sleepless nights, and I just can't take it anymore. So then Channa brought him back to the palace. Then he started contemplating. He said, and by this time, on that day, his son was born. And his son, born after 13 years of marriage at the age of 29, when he was 29, his son was born. He said, oh no, I'm planning to escape today, and today my son is born. And a fetter has arisen. So Rahul means a person who's going to like block, the path of somebody, something like that, So there is a planet like Rahu in the constellation of the Indian astrology. So they call him Rahula. So Rahu is born, like going to block the path. So he said, if I have to escape. He said, I need to find the way out of death. I need to find the path to deathlessness to save all beings from dying. I don't think that death is our destiny. He said, there must be something better. He said, it cannot be like everybody is born to die, suffer. He said, there must be an end to this suffering. And he said, if I don't leave now, I'll be stuck because of my attachment to my newborn son. So at night, he crept out of the palace. So he left his wife who was sleeping next to the baby. And then he just looked at her. He kissed the baby and then gently kissed the wife on the forehead. And then he left. So he told Channa, he said, get the horse ready. And the horse name was Kantaka, white color horse. And it was his favorite horse for many, many years. So he was leaving everything. He left his parents, he left his wife, his newborn son, his luxuries, his title as a crown prince, everything. His best friend Channa and his dear, friend Kantak. So he went, and then at the river Anoma, after a few, towards the morning, a few hours after he left the palace, quietly, then they came to a river, and this river actually separates the kingdom from other parts of India. So then he said, Channa, drop me here. And then he cut his hair, and he took out his princely clothes, and then he put on the robes of a hermit. And then he said, send this back to my parents and my wife, and say that I will come back only after I have found the path to deathlessness, the path out of suffering. And then the horse cried, and then Channa cried and begged the Siddhartha, please don't do this. He said, I have to. It's for all humanity. He said, I cannot. It is worse for me to sit down and see everybody dying than to go. So he sent back his jewelry and his everything, whatever princely robes that he was wearing. And then he waved goodbye and then kissed the horse Kantak and said, bye, my best friend. You have been so kind to me. Now you go back. So then Channa, with a very heavy heart, and Kantak, they left, and then they went back to the palace and then informed the parents, the king and queen, and then Princess Yashodhara. And everybody was like, it was so much grief in the palace. And the horse refused to eat. And after a few days, Kantak passed away because he was so attached to Siddhartha. And then Siddhartha went, and then he went, and then to cut the long story short, so his was a 6-year trial. So it took him 6 years wandering in the forest. This is a prince who used to wear shoes and princely robes and always had people fanning him and all. Now in the heat, the sweltering heat, especially at this time, the sweltering heat of the Indian forests and all. So, and then also the thorns, and then no food, where to go, no direction, danger, wild animals, mosquitoes. So it was a very difficult existence to be a wandering monk, isn't it? So somehow he found his first teacher called Alara Kalam, and who taught him until the 4th stage of meditation. And then he surpassed his teacher. So the teacher offered the hermitage to him. He said, since you are so good and better than me, so I offer you my ashram. Then Siddhartha said that if I stay here, then I'll become complacent. I've only reached until a very high stage of mental peace, but I still haven't found a way out of suffering. So please let me go, master. And can you tell me which master can guide me, towards deathlessness? He said, I know another master who has got higher realizations than me. You can go to him. His name is Udraka Ramaputra. So he went to Udraka Ramaputra, and Udraka Ramaputra taught him the Arupa Jhanas. So Alara Kalama taught the Rupa Jhana. That means it is the worldly concentration is like rupa. So in the desire realm, and then uh, form, in the form realm and the formless realm. So the concentration in the form realm was taught by Alarang. So the concentration from the fifth to the eighth level of the formless realm, which means that the mind becomes so soft. And those who die with that state of mind, when they are reborn, according to the Buddha, they will be reborn in a formless realm. We call it arupa. Rupa, and when you have the prefix a, means exact opposite. So rupa means you have body, rupa, and your arupa means no body. So he reached until that stage. And then he asked his teacher, so now, what do I learn? And the teacher said, that's it. What is it? I don't think that this is like the complete knowledge. Then the teacher said, I'm sorry, this is all I can teach you. I don't know anything more than this. But if you find next time, let me know. So this extraordinary Siddhartha, the hermit, so by now he's called ascetic Siddhartha. So he came out. He came out of the ashram, again very sad. So he has reached very high stages of mental absorption, concentration, but he still couldn't find a way out of deathlessness. So then he talked to many people, he met many wandering ascetics. So he met some Jain monks who told him, he asked, how do we get enlightened? So they said that our teacher, Mahavira, Jain is also another religion in the world, and its origin is also in India.
Is it red?
White color.
White color.
White color.
Oh.
And also they have shaved. So in India, Jainism is the first religion which admitted women as nuns. They also have an order of monks and nuns, so Jainism. And Mahavira was the one who actually started this. But they also have got many others. In fact, Mahavira became enlightened and concretized it, but they also have many other, they call it, what is that? Tirthankaras or something like that. I can't remember. They are founders, so they are enlightened beings. So he was inspired. He said, oh, okay, if Mahavira attained enlightenment through austerities, that means self-mortification, torturing the body. So it's like going into deep, icy cold water and staying there for hours, or hanging from the upside down from a tree, and then stop eating. So it said that eating is desire. So reduce the food until such an extent where he was only eating 1 grain of rice every day, and he became like a skeleton. He had nothing anymore, just between life and death only, almost going off, right? And then some sources say that he even stopped taking water, but I don't know. I don't think so. But some sources say that he even stopped taking water. So he thought, that this is the technique. If I get rid of all my desires, including the necessity, human necessity, the food, so I will find the way to deathlessness. He didn't. He almost died. So one fine morning, he was very weak. One lady called Sujata, and this is now very close to Bodh Gaya, where the tree of enlightenment is, from Lumbini. So travel. So Bodh Gaya is in Bihar state, right? So he traveled a few hundred kilometers already in the 6 years, right? So he reached the banks of the Niranjara river in a village called Uruvela. So Uruvela, and there was this one aristocratic lady called Sujata, and she is the daughter of Senani. Senani is the chief of the village, the head of the village, and the village name was Senani Gram. So today is not very far from the Bodhi tree. There's a Sujata place also. So she offered milk rice to the Buddha, to Siddhartha. She said that if you have no strength, how on earth are you going to, search for the truth? He said that first get your act together, put in some nourishment. So a woman's wisdom at the point in time when he almost died. So he said, oh yeah, I think I should eat. I shouldn't torture my body. So when he started eating, he felt better. And then he started contemplating, where did I go wrong? So he had 5 ascetic friends who were basically following him, and they said that because sage Asita in the past had prophesied, so this Siddhartha became very famous, and many people wanted to follow him. So when they heard that he had become a hermit, a monk, so they started following him. They said that he will become our teacher. So they followed him, and then when they started seeing him leaving the path of self-mortification, meaning that the austerities to completely no eating, no drinking, and all torturing the body, so they thought that was a good thing. And then when they saw him accepting an offering from a village lady, an aristocratic lady, and it's called milk rice kheer in Hindi language, then they say that, oh, I think this guy Siddhartha has basically deviated. He has abandoned his quest for the truth. He has been smitten by this lady, and we should no longer follow him, because I think that he's abandoned the path.
Mm.
So he started attached to worldly things. So they left him in anger. He tried to explain, but they didn't want to listen. So because that is probably best, because maybe a lot of people near him were blocking his path to enlightenment. So when he was left alone, then he walked to the tree of enlightenment, and then he sat down, and then he remembered the time when he was young, he sat under the rose apple tree. And when he sat under the rose apple tree and observed his breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, mindfulness of breathing in and breathing out is called anapanasati. Ana means going in, pana means out. Sati means mindfulness. So anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing in and breathing out, is a very basic technique even a child can do. And that's what you learned this morning. And that's what you've been learning, right? So it's just basic breathing in and breathing out. So a child could do, and then the child entered very high, very deep states of meditation. He said, perhaps I should abandon all these very difficult concepts. I should come to, I should come back to basics. So he sat down and then started breathing in and out, breathing in and out. He observed his mind. He observed phenomena. So if you don't observe phenomena, you cannot get enlightened. So he observed phenomena. So he understood, okay, the answer lies in nature. It didn't lie in, the answer is not in stopping eating. Even the plants have to eat. If the plants don't have water, they die. If plants don't have, nourishment,
Mm.
they die. No, what they call that, what is that, fertilizer, they don't thrive. No sun, they die, right? So he understood. He was like, oh, okay, that's nice. So he went and sat under this beautiful banyan tree, we call it, pipal tree. And today it is called the Bodhi tree. Bodhi tree, Bodhi means wisdom. So the tree of wisdom. So Buddha is not a name of a person, it's actually a title of a person. Buddha means enlightenment, wisdom. So in that sense, the enlightened wisdom, Buddha. So Buddha is not like karma or moon. It's not like that, or Nora or Raj. It's actually somebody who has attained, who has completely purified ignorance and attained the highest state of a human being, a perfect mind. And the human mind can be perfected up to that extent only if we care to look at nature, understand nature. So we have this TV, phone, even sometimes books also. We read those books. We cling to the book. And I say that only this book can help me. And every answer is in this book. And this is my holy book. And don't touch it. If you touch this holy book, I'm going to have to do something to you. Because this is my book. So you cling to this book. Right? And then this book, which is supposed to impart wisdom, is become a cause for clash and conflict. Because the person who is reading it has no wisdom, did not take the wisdom from the book. So the book itself is not the wisdom, it's not the path, the book is the roadmap. It's the roadmap pointing to your own. So basically, spirituality is not about texts, right? It's about going into your mind, going inside here. So the enlightenment is not out there. It's not in the sky, it's not in the heaven. Yeah, it's not in some deity. It's inside you. So that's why the Buddha, in Buddhist sayings, we say that enlightenment is between two breaths. So the enlightenment is nearer than, like it's like your nose, right? It's on your face, right? So basically, it is like the enlightenment is nearer than actually your nose. It's like that. So it's just within us. It's so close, and yet we seek peace outside. So if we seek peace outside, then we have missed the point. So the Buddha sat under the Siddhartha at that time. It was Siddhartha sat under the Bodhi tree, the banyan tree, the people tree, and then he contemplated. So he observed phenomena, and then he realized things that are coming in his mind: anger, hatred, all this. He observed jealousy, greed, and then he learned how to let go. So the moment he learned how to let go, wisdom arose. And because of very high concentration, when you have such deep concentration, your mind becomes razor sharp, like an electron microscope that you can see through nature. You can see the deep interconnectivity, the web of life, all these deep connections. A mind that is fully concentrated. That's why we say we have to learn anapanasati. We have to learn how to keep our minds calm, concentrated, because when the mind is calm, concentrated, there is a clarity that is razor sharp, like a laser beam. And that razor sharp clarity, when you observe nature, the nature speaks to you. It's telling you stories. It's talking to you about impermanence. It's talking to you about the change. It's talking to you about I am interdependent. I am not here independent. I depend on the sun. I depend on the water. And then Siddhartha said, "Oh, okay. If you are dependent on the sun, the water, the soil, so am I. So I don't have a separate existence." And voila, that's the key. I don't have a separate existence. All the while, because I thought I had a separate existence, so that's why I can die. If I was never born, so I can never die. Just like the tree looks like it's dying, but it does not. It's never born and it's never dying because it is just changing. So it manifests in different ways, but there's no death. So this wisdom dawned on the Buddha, and that's how he became the Buddha. And that's the primary teaching of Buddhism is dependent origination, which means that there's no standalone entity here. Everything arises depending on causes and conditions. So that wisdom, and because of the razor sharp concentration of the Buddha, he could see past lives, his own past lives, the night of enlightenment. There are 3 watches of them. So he could see the first watch. He could see his rebirth, where he was born in the past, countless from beginningless time. And he said, he said millions. He said incalculable. He said, I have been reborn and reborn so many times, and it's horrible. It's just so much of suffering. He said, and then because his mind was so razor sharp in terms of his concentration, and he had penetrated deeply into the truth of the universe, he could see even your rebirth, my rebirth, every other living being he could see. He could see their past lives. That's the first watch of the night. The second watch of the night, karma. So he said that why are beings born and why do beings die? So he saw that there is this universal law called karma. So the law of karma, just like there is a law of gravity, law of thermodynamics, right? Newton's law of motion, law of attraction, law of the seed. If there is, basically if we plant a seed, the seed will grow, unless you don't have the right causes and conditions. But as long as it's a good seed, a seed will grow. So you cannot plant a stone and then expect something to sprout from a stone. So the law of the seed says that if this is a seed, you're given the right conditions, it will sprout. So that is the law of the seed. So we have got the law of karma. It is also a universal law. And this law of karma states that what you sow is what you reap. So which means that if you sow negative seeds, black seeds, you reap results. If you sow good seeds, positive, you reap white results. So you cannot you cannot transfer your karma to me. I cannot transfer my karma to you. Some people will say that it's because of my father's bad karma, so I'm suffering. There some connection depending on your there is a karmic connection between you and your father or mother or whatever it is, but your karma is your karma. Nobody can transfer their karma to you, and the karma never dies. And karma is there. Karma means the law of cause and effect. So that is the law of karma. Mind it. So cause and effect. So without a cause, there will be no effect. So that is another way Buddha got enlightened. Siddhartha got enlightened. Oh, he said, if this, without this, there will be no this. So if you don't want this, then don't do this. So you have to nip the cause in the bud. Yeah, so that thing, that root is called ignorance. So he penetrated into the ignorance which is in the human mind. And this ignorance is the one that causes us to like this, dislike that, greedy, anger, all these things. And that's why we do negative things. So then he said, reverse, come back. And if you can stop it from nip it in the bud. But if you can't do that, there are many ways for you to train to stop it somewhere within the link. And that link is called the 12 links of dependent origination. So that is another insight knowledge that came. And that came during the third watch of the night. First watch that means the first few hours of the night is past life recollection. Second is beings born. So karma, the law of karma came very, very clearly, and how beings are born according to their karma. And the Buddha, when he became enlightened, he could see everybody's karma, how, and also the past and the future, what happened to you in the past, why you're like this, and what will happen to you because of what you're doing now. So what will happen to you in the future? The Buddha could see everything. So in a way, we say that the Buddha was omniscient. Right? So whether it's true or not, I don't know. But it's possible because the human mind is very powerful. Right? So, yeah. So if we can accept that, then we understand, that the only way to find out is you become a Buddha yourself. And the Buddha said that don't pray to me. I'm not the savior. The Buddha said, I cannot transfer my realizations to you. And neither can I pour ablution water on you to purify your sins. I'm merely showing you the path and you have to practice and come out of it. So he did not make any false promises. You believe in me and you will be, he said, I can't. I went through this way, the hard way, to generate that understanding and knowledge, to show you the path. And I think that's good enough. So you have to do the hard work to practice. So that's why I must practice meditation and learn the Dharma. So at dawn, just at the the stroke of dawn, the Siddhartha transformed into Buddha. So which means that he's no longer an ordinary being anymore. He became an enlightened being. An enlightened being, that means there is 0% negative emotion, 0% ignorance. If there is no ignorance, there will be no greed. If there is no greed, there will be no hatred. So the Buddha is somebody who has completely purified the mental afflictions and the inherent sense of I. That means he understood that we are here getting angry and all very selfish is because we're inherent I. So the tree doesn't say I. If the tree says I, give back my fruit, I don't want. So do you see, nothing in nature has an inherent sense of I except us. And that is the root cause of the problem. So now, when the Buddha became enlightened, so what happened is that he paid respect to the tree. After 7 days, he just stared at the tree in gratitude. Yeah? Just such an amazing thing. And he spent 49 days around the complex, around the Bodhi tree. So doing many things, right? So just enjoying the bliss of enlightenment. And then he said that when he was meditating, he said, I don't think I can share this with anyone. He said, the knowledge that I've gained is just far too profound. I don't think anyone can understand this. Perhaps my quest for enlightenment ends with me. He had that thought because he said that this is so profound, it's next to impossible that somebody can understand it. And then tradition says that the devas, the celestial beings from the higher realms, the heavenly realms, came down requesting the Buddha. So you see, when I chanted just now, I chanted this verse in Tibetan, and this verse says, Semchen namki sampadan loye jetra jetawa jechong tunmong tepayi chweki korlo kordu sol. So this is actually requesting the Buddhas to turn the wheel of the Dharma. That's exactly as per tradition, because the celestial beings said this. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma. That means teach for the benefit of those who have different aptitudes. So the very advanced, there are some who are completely lost, there are some who are slightly wise, and there are some who are very wise. So the celestial being said that, there's so, some people are so like little dust in their eyes. So some people have a lot of dust in their eyes. For those people who have got very little dust in their eyes, they will understand. So because they request, and because you request, then only we are allowed to teach. I'm not allowed to teach Dharma unless somebody requests, and that is the tradition. So then the Buddha said, okay, fine. So then he said, whom should I teach? Yeah? So he went into meditation, and then he realized that, oh my goodness, he was thinking of repaying the kindness of his teachers, and then his teachers had passed away. Alara Kalama and also Udraka Ramaputra. So he said, oh. Then he thought, maybe my 5 friends, I should see them. Sure enough, they are there. So then the Buddha walked from Bodh Gaya to Varanasi, which is about more than 100 kilometers. Took him 3 months to walk.
Walk.
Everything was walk.
Walk.
Yeah.
Wow.
Everything walking. Barefoot some more.
Barefoot walking.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So walked all the way. So the entire 6 years was all walking. And then the Buddha taught for 45 years. So the Buddha Siddhartha became enlightened at the age of 35. He left home at the age of 29. At the age of 35, he became a Buddha. At the age of 80, he passed away. So 45 years in the Gangetic plain of North India, Siddhartha Gautama Buddha walked for the benefit of all sentient beings, often with blood coming out from his feet because so many thorns, often without food, often without much medicine, without rest, no comfort whatsoever. And he went teaching. So he found his friends in a place called Sarnath, the deer park in Rishipatana. In Pali we call it Isipatana. And today it's very close. It's right next to the holy city of Varanasi, next to the river Ganges. Varanasi, I'm sure you know where it is, right? It's where they burn the bodies. So it's a very beautiful full tradition. Very, very old. This city is like thousands of years old, at least 5,000 years old. Varanasi is a very ancient city, at least, yeah. And Gaya also is very, very old city. So this is India, yeah. So India, the land of enlightenment. So every Buddha in the future will become enlightened in India. It is said according to the text, because India is it has those kinds of conditions of oppression. At the same time, people who have a lot of wisdom in order for it to. So when there's so much of oppression, then wisdom can arise. When there's no suffering, wisdom cannot arise. So he went and taught the 5 friends. So then the 5 friends, he found them. So the 5 friends didn't want to look at him. He said, that, what is this? Who is this person who has become so, he has abandoned the way of asceticism, and he has gone running after women and luxuries and all. We don't want to talk to him. But then they couldn't help but see that something has changed. He no longer looks the same. That he has got some sort of a very beautiful aura, a glow on his face. And everything about Siddhartha had changed because he had become the Buddha. The way he talked, the way he walked, his face, his demeanor, everything changed. And then they felt so attracted to him. So immediately one person went to wash his feet, another person went to take his bag. So another person went to give water, another person prepared a seat. And all of them paid homage, and then they said, why are you here? They asked, what brought you to us? And he said, I found the way out of suffering, and I come here to teach you. He said, really? I said, yes. So after, a meal and all, so then at an auspicious, opportune moment, the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths. It is the first sermon. The first sermon is called the Dharma Chakra Pravatana Sutra. So Dharma means Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha. Chakra means a disc, a wheel. So it is a turning of the wheel of Dharma Sutra, and it is the first teaching of the Buddha. So now let me give you a very simple overview before we end the class. So I needed to tell you about how he has sacrificed so much. He sacrificed his child, his wife, his parents, his luxury, everything in order to give knowledge to the whole world. He didn't keep it to himself. And he wasn't selfish, but it's just that he wasn't sure. So, and that is, when he taught the 5 ascetics, Kondanya became the first enlightened being after the Buddha. And that is, an enlightened being means Arhat. So to become a fully enlightened being is very difficult. So in the Pali tradition, in Buddhist tradition, we say that when you listen to the teachings, you practice hard enough, you eradicate the 3 poisons of ignorance, attachment, and hatred. These are the 3 mental poisons, the main ones. You become Arhat. So Kondanya became the first Arhat, and the 5 ascetics became the first 5 monks. So they became the first Sangha in Buddhism. 2,600 years ago, the lineage continues until today. Right? And the lineage is also in me. The continuation of the Sangha lineage of Mahaprajapati Gautama, direct from the Buddha. So this is the authenticity of the tradition, authenticity of the teachings, and the teacher also received so many teachings from so many enlightened masters in this very life in the 21st century. So the teaching, the Buddha taught the 4 Noble Truths. So the Noble Truth of suffering. So the Buddha said that there's a lot of suffering, and you have birth, old age, sickness, death, and then sometimes you meet people that you like, and then don't like, and then the people that you like, you separate from them. So meeting people that you dislike, being separated from people that you like, and causes and conditions that you like, that favor you, is suffering. Right? Impermanence, change is suffering. Because you grow old, you become sick, you get separated, people around you die. So change is massive suffering. Right? So basically, not getting what you want and getting what you don't want, and then the major sufferings of birth, old age, sickness, and death, and change, all these things characterizes our life, and all of us have to go through it, and it's very painful. Ask somebody in the hospital today how painful it is to be sick, and those people who have terminal illness, how difficult, and those who have lost loved ones. All of us have lost loved ones before. How painful it is when you lose them, and how painful it is to be in situations of hunger, don't have medicine, poverty. That is also so much suffering. So the Buddha didn't give us any illusion. The Buddha said, okay, he said should I lie? Oh, the Buddha never lies. So should I tell you the truth? Of course, right? Because the Buddha never tells a lie. So he said that I could frame it in a sugar-coated way, that life is blissful, life is so nice, but that will delay your sense of urgency. So the Buddha said the most important thing is to understand that it's so urgent, because this human life is the only life where you can practice and come out. And practice means you do meditation, you make your mind razor sharp in terms of the clarity and concentration, and then you focus on nature. You look at impermanence, you look at interdependence, and then the wisdom will arise. Then you completely eradicate ignorance. So the 4 Noble Truths, the first Noble Truth is suffering. He said that I can tell you the world is wonderful, but what is the point? You only have such a short human life, so better I tell you the truth so that you can practice quickly and come out quickly. Second Noble Truth is the cause. So what is the root cause of our suffering? So the Buddha said it's the desire. We want this, we want that. and the desire is rooted in ignorance. So because if there is no sense of self, there will be no one to want, desire. So the Buddha said that we are ignorant. We think that there is an inherent self, and when this self manifests, there is an I, there will be a you. And when there's an I, there will be mine. Me, myself, mine. And when there is mine, there starts to be grasping, that then the mind becomes greed. And then when the mind, people take away those things from you, or you don't get those things, then you have hatred. So basically, we are very primitive. We have this ignorance, which is already there, and this ignorance will tell you, manifest. You are Nora. You are karma. You are here. But the Buddha said, no. We arise depending on causes and conditions. Hello, there's nobody at home. Basically, everything arises from causes and conditions. There is not a single thing that you can pinpoint in my body and in my so-called existence, and there is the word karma written on it, or moon, Nora or Raj. There is no. Raj is made of non-Raj elements. Karma is made of non-karma elements. I am empty of inherent existence, my own self, but I'm full of the universe. So the moment I have this self, I forget that I'm part of the universe. And there is a sense of separation. And this separation comes about because of ignorance. So we separate, so we think that we are separate from nature, and that's where we start to be greedy. And when we are greedy, we start to have hatred, and then after that, all the other things will come. So the Buddha said the second noble truth is desire. But actually, underlying desire is ignorance. So desire means grabbing. So once you like to grab this, grab that, grasping and clinging to things, is
attachment.
Yes. So the grasping and clinging to things is the root cause of your suffering. Our suffering, my suffering, your, me. We are all suffering. So the moment you learn how to let go, then you drop the suffering. Simple as that. The third noble truth, the Buddha said, there is a way out of suffering. There is a way. If there is no way, then there's no point in me sitting down here and talking to you. So you might as well just, sit down and wait for doomsday. But the Buddha said there is a way. It's all doom and gloom at the beginning. The first noble truth is very gloomy. The second noble truth is very, by that time you're depressed already, right? Oh no, do I even have hope? Then the third noble truth is the noble truth of hope. It says that yes, you have hope. You can come out of this. So it's the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. And then the fourth noble truth is that this is the path. So it's called the Noble Eightfold Path. So the Noble Eightfold Path is divided into three. Ethical training. So which means that you have, the Buddha said that according to the law of the universe, a person who kills will be killed. A person who steals will have to, will be stolen from. A person who has sexual misconduct, that will happen to you again in some other life, right? And a person who lies, you'll be lied to, right? So a person who says harsh speech will have to be shouted at. So what you give into the universe, what rubbish you put into the universe is what you're going to get back. So these 5 precepts is the ethical principle. So it's not about thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. It's not about that. It's about understanding. I undertake the training not to kill any living being. That's number 1. Number 2, I undertake the training not to take what is not given. Number 2. Number 3, I undertake the training not to indulge in sexual misconduct, meaning that you harm somebody else's body without consent. Or you are with a partner who is not supposed to be your partner because you already are married to someone, committed to someone. So which means that you create suffering for yourself, your other partner, children, etc. And then the 4th, I undertake the training not to lie. And number 5, I undertake the training not to indulge in intoxicants, harmful substances like drugs, smoking, alcohol, etc. And of course Facebook, too much. So indulge, the here is about indulging, but alcohol is no, basically things that can destroy your body and cloud your mind. So everything has to be very in moderate. But the alcohol, no alcohol, no cigarette, no drugs. These are like completely lethal for the body. So that's the ethical framework. And then the second is you must meditate. So the second is meditation, concentration. That is the path. And the third path is observing nature. That is the path to wisdom. So the Noble Eightfold Path is about ethical discipline. Discipline. You don't have discipline, you can't come out. So if you're lazy, of course, nothing will ever happen, right? You got to do something, then only it will happen. So ethical training is coming up from laziness and stop harming living beings. Because the idea is like this: if you harm others, you get harmed. Why would you want to do that to yourself? If you love yourself, don't harm others. It's a selfish kind of a way of putting it, but because we are selfish, so if we put it in a way that if we don't want to get harmed, so we better don't do. And then the second one is meditation that you learn every Sunday, and the third one is the wisdom, and that too I will teach in my future videos, which we call vipassana. So the middle one is concentration, samadhi we call it. We sit in full 100% concentration. So to summarize, to tell you, so it's actually right speech, right action with your body, your hands, don't steal, don't kill, right livelihood. So the Buddha advised us not to, indulge in buying and selling of human beings, buying and selling of animals, right? Because it causes a lot of suffering. And then,
trafficking.
yes, human trafficking, modern day slavery, right?
Yeah.
And then not to, deal with arms, because nuclear, all these kinds of things, knives, etc.
So the universe is like
Yeah. So the Buddha said very clearly, if you are going to deal with that, then those who live by the gun will die by the gun. What goes around comes around. So that's the law of the universe. So the Buddha said the karma is very simple. Whatever rubbish you put in, that's what's going to come back. So it's not about preaching from on a high pedestal. It's about telling you that if you don't live according to the law of nature, then unfortunately it will be repackaged in a way that comes back and hits us hard in the face. That's all. That's karma. So it's very simple. So right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort. You have to make effort. If you sleep lazy, don't want to get up, don't want to do your meditation, then of course you're not going to progress. And right mindfulness, and I talk about mindfulness all the time, right? So mindfulness means that you remember. Yes, that's the first one. Yes. So the first mindfulness, everything that you do, the way you talk, the way you walk, you've got to know that you're truly alive. I am. When you're sitting on your chair, you know that you're sitting on the chair. When you're breathing, you know you're breathing. When you're walking, you know you're walking. When you're eating, you know you're eating. So everything is done with full awareness. That is right mindfulness. And then right concentration, right understanding, and right view. So all these things will be part of your syllabus in the Dharma class in the future. Right? So to summarize the entire first teaching of the Buddha, very simple. We call it the middle way. So the middle way teaching is so famous. So Buddhism is famous because of its middle way approach. So which means that not clinging to extremes, like meaning that there is don't indulge in the desires, the five senses, and don't deny yourself food and sustenance. Be in the middle. Don't be so extreme. So nowadays, yes, balance. So the nature is not extreme. So observe nature. If you need to eat, eat. You need to drink, drink. You need to rest, rest. It's not a prison. So you don't torture your body. So you don't overindulge, and at the same time you don't torture. So you stay in the middle, right? So it's not about right and wrong. It's about looking at things in a balanced perspective. Yeah. So there is no white or black. Yeah, tall and short. So it's like everything you look at it in the middle. No absolutes. Because when you talk about absolutes, then you become very rigid. So you become flexible. So walk the middle path. Don't like too much, don't dislike. No attachment, no aversion. Somewhere in the middle. So that is the middle way. Right? So then this very important things are just now I say there is no self that is at home. Hello. But the Buddha said that too is extreme. So to deny that there is a self is foolishness. But to say there is a self is also foolishness. So there is no concrete self, and yet there is no self. There is a self, but the self arises depending on causes and conditions. So not to be fooled by people saying everything is empty, there is no existence. No, that too is false. So if you say that things are empty, but then you're here in front of me and I'm here in front of you. If there is no one here at home, then who is going to experience the karma? Who is eating? Who is sitting down here? Who is breathing? So the Buddha said everything follow the middle path. So I will end the class today with this idea that the middle path, if you really understand, meditation also comes back to the middle. So when you bring your awareness back to your breath, you are actually bringing yourself back to the middle. Everything has a middle point. That means the middle point is the point of balance. So when you do your pranayama also, you're bringing back your mind to the middle. Not to extreme, not extreme light, dislike, cold, hot. So eventually we start to break down these dichotomies. We stop becoming dualistic. And the dualism is like friend, enemy, like, dislike, praise, blame, pleasure, pain. All these things will dissolve because we cling to that as real. So at the end of the day, understand that nature, they are in harmony, they are in the middle. Nature is following the middle way. So when are you going to start following the middle way? So only by following the middle way can we actually come out from this immense suffering that we call samsara.
Samsara
And guess who created the samsara?
means us.
Through our minds. So the moment you stop grasping, you're in nirvana. When you grasp, you're in samsara. So learn how to let go. So a person who has completely let go is a Buddha. So which means that the 24/7, no more clinging, then that person is in nirvana. So you have glimpses of nirvana. When you let go, you're happy, peaceful. That's nirvana in a way, a small taste. But if you're constantly grasping, grabbing, clinging, so rigid, then you're creating a lot of suffering. So suffering and nirvana are two sides of the same coin. So I say like, yeah, so the samsara and nirvana, two sides of the same coin. We have the ability to choose. So what are you choosing every moment in life? By not being mindful, we are choosing samsara. By being mindful, mindfulness means let go and be in the present moment, we are going towards nirvana. So it's actually so simple. It manifests in our daily lives. It's not talking about sitting under the banyan tree, and then I don't have that kind of illusion for myself. We can achieve that. But if I can't even walk in mindfulness in my garden, don't talk about the Bodhi tree and sitting and becoming a fully enlightened being 24/7. Right? Any questions before I end?
Question.
So I've talked to you about the life of the Buddha because in order for you to understand how precious the teachings are and what these teachings have the potential to do, and the teachings do not belong to any religion. It's a science of mind, it's understanding phenomena. The sad thing is that we learn biology, physics, chemistry and all this every religion can learn. Right? But these are what? Understanding external phenomena. Right? But once it comes to understanding internal phenomena, then everybody's like, oh, no, my religion does it better. No, my religion does it better. So it's like, why is it that the realm of internal phenomena has so much conflict? And we all can study science, physics, etc., all this. But the moment when it comes to studying the mind, suddenly religion appears, and then it's like, so take the religious hat, put it aside, right? Religion has its place and it's beautiful. All religions in this world are very beautiful, but it's not helpful if we bring that baggage in the meditation. Just release. So meditation is about letting go. So at that particular time, we say that there's no meditator. If there's no meditator, So there can be no religion. And the ones who are in the balance are those who don't have religion. Flowers. You ask tomorrow morning, you go and ask the flower and say, what religion are you? I'm pretty sure the flower will be laughing. Ha ha! You still don't get it, do you? Ha ha! You know, something like that. So the flower will say,
understand.
observe me through the lens of mindfulness. Observe me, and you will understand. So that is the teaching of the Buddha. Universal teaching for all living beings to come out from the sleep of ignorance.
Because of ignorance, hatred, and
Mm.
greed.
Yeah.
That's why actually the main is these three things.
Yes.
These three things that make us into we have the attachment on things that
So go back.
we desire of.
Yeah.
That's why
So
actually
you want
enlightenment
to
is
grab.
very nearby. Like what you say is just right in front of your nose.
Mm.
But just only these three factors that block us.
Yeah. So don't search for enlightenment in books. The books are only a roadmap. Don't search for enlightenment in temples, in statues, in rites and rituals. They can provide comfort to a very great extent. It's beautiful. Don't search for enlightenment in human beings. Search for enlightenment in yourself.
In ourselves.
And that's why the Buddha said anybody can become a Buddha. In fact, the Buddha said you already are Buddhas, but you just don't know it. Because we are all stained by ignorance. So the moment we start purifying the ignorance, then we start understanding why we are here and how to come out from all our stress. And our mental health will increase, our peace will increase, our confusion will decrease. At the end of the day, it wasn't our peace, it wasn't our confusion, there was nothing ours. Because we grab it and make it ours. The headache, I got headache, is my headache, my pain, my leg pain, my back pain, my headache, my stomach ache, mine. So we just put it aside and I just say that pain has arisen, headache has arisen, problems have arisen. It's not my problem, it's just a problem that has come. So when you connect the problem to the I, that's where the suffering comes. That's where the ego comes and that's where the conflicts come. And that's why I say I'm very scared of religion. Because the religion, if you don't know why religion is there, then you get bitten by the snake of religion.
Religion is actually in this world religion a lot of is man-made out. A lot of religion is like the man-made out.
Religious leaders have come here to show us the way
Mm.
inside, but we get stuck in the books. Every single spiritual teacher that has come on this earth shows us the way inside. But somehow we miss the point. We attach to the teacher, we attach to the temple, we attach to the books. Buddha said, don't attach to anything. Go inside your own mind, and then, then you see in the laboratory of your own mind, you become empowered. So with this, I end today's class with gratitude to those who are listening, and also gratitude to all my teachers, those who have passed on and those who are still here. I wish them all long life, good health, and also gratitude for the opportunity that is given for me to be able to learn with you. Whenever I share the Dharma, I am learning and sharpening my own mind. So if there is no you, there is no me. We are interdependent, interconnected. And with this we can have peace. Because I am you, and you are me. And the day you understand that, there will be no separation. Only love and compassion and peace. Sunam di tham chi se pa ni thom ni pe dranam tham ji ne ke ga na chi ba la Tropa yi ti pe zole rowa sho jampel pa wu jitara kien pa ta kun tu zang po de yan de shin de da kun gi jesu da lo chün gi wa di da tam che rab tu ngo de sen she pe kya wa tam che gi ngo wa ga la che tu nga pa di Dagi gewe tsawa di kun chan sampo ju ji rab tu ngo wa re gi ge wa kun tu yan da la ma dan ra me che ke pa la lu ju ji sa dan lam ji yun den ram zo ni tu je chang gi go pan yu to sho sang ge ku so nye pe jin lab da Chunyi minjur dempe jin la dange de minje dempe jin la ki ji tarang wa mon lan ru pa re sho pa den sa ve la ma ru po je dagi chi wo pe me de shu la ka dren chin po go ne je son te ku son to ge ngo ro sa du sa pa den la me nam para tar pa la ke che sam ya lo ta mi ki shi Chisele para tove mege ke la meje la se la jo para sho la ma ku kamza la solvade chotu ku tseri la sovade Prinde da shinge la sovade la ma da dava me para jinge lo chasa wada Chichin shapada anje su yiran kushin sovaye ke wa chunze da ge che sa pa tam che zo pe jan chu ji ngo Janju simjo rinpoche ma ke pa nam ke jurji ke pa nyam pa me pa yang Gune gundu pe wari shutu nye ta wa rinpoche ma ke pa nam ke jurji ke pa nyam pa me pa yang Gune gundu pe wari shuri nye ta wa rinpoche ma ke pa nam ke jurji ke pa nyam pa me pa yang Gune gundu pe wari shu chupa tsime rinpoche ma ke pa nam ke jurji Ke pa nyam pa me pa yang gone gondo pe war shu. We dedicate this marriage to all beings that they may be able to purify ignorance, attachment, and hatred and be completely free from the vicious cycle of samsara, which is characterized by birth, old age, sickness, and death. May we be able to put in effort to practice and have a sense of urgency and practice and let go of grasping to this non-existent I. And may we be able to one day completely purify this false sense of separation with all living beings. May we understand emptiness, oneness, and may kindness and compassion develop in our hearts to the maximum level, and may we be a blessing to all those around us. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sabbe Sattva Bhavantu Sukhitat. Thank you. Thank you so much.